Hello, all streaming fans, and welcome back to the platform Plumbers. For another week, our current topic today is the overinflation of the streaming world. Later on, we are joined by the director of the new BBC iPlayer show, The Gold, Anil Korea. For now, fortunately, we are joined with our guest, industry professional Randy Freer, who is the former CEO of Hulu.
Thanks for having me on, Lewis.
Before we get into today's conversation, remember you can get in contact with the platform Plumbers using the hashtag on Twitter. We will be reading messages later on today. So, Randy, Hulu has been prevalent in the market since 2007, and now we are in a modern day. What are your initial thoughts on how competitive the market can be right now?
Good question, Lewis. We're reaching the peak of streaming service popularity. It's like all these services like Disney+, Netflix, Peacock, or even Hulu are fighting the same watch time of their users. And of course this means some services are going to sink. This even applies to sites like Google Stadia or Mixer outside the immediate streaming market.
Thanks, Freer. That's an interesting take. Meanwhile, on Twitter, @JoeBloggs says, I can't believe I'm paying £10 a month for Netflix and I can't share the password with my friends. What do you think about this, Freer?
Well, I do see where he's coming from. As I said, streaming services and that fight for the entertainment time of their viewers is very competitive. And combined with Netflix losing many IPs, such as the Spider-Man franchise, this does mean that they'll lose viewers. And while it is ethically questionable what they are doing, they do need to make up for that loss in viewership by increasing prices and knuckling down on sharing subscriptions.
You were telling me before the show how streaming services have gone multimedia in what they distribute. What are your thoughts on this?
Yes, well, we've always had products like Hulu and Netflix. We've also seen the rise of music streaming in terms of services like Spotify, Deezer and SoundCloud, which even provide platform for aspiring artists. What I find most interesting is the development of video games in the streaming service market. While there have been failures like Google Stadia, however, services like PlayStation now embody elements of streaming service technology, and this has been a benefit to Sony, and it will be interesting to see where the technology with streaming video games will be in 10 years or so.
Yeah, I do see what you mean. I also wonder how streaming and cloud services will develop. Anyway, @AndrewSmith says on Twitter, I'm still a bit sketchy on online streaming services for video games. Surely they're too complicated.
Well, personally I disagree with that, as many different levels of video games can be played on a streaming service. On top of that, we cannot truly predict where the cloud and streaming technology will be in 5 to 10 years.
Thanks for that, Freer. We're going to jump to a quick ad break on the new BBC products that you can watch soon.
The Gold. Cops and robbers, cat and mouse, greed, corruption, Jack Loudon, Stephanie Martini. What's not to like?
That's very pretty.
You two picked up Brinksman.
Yes, sir.
I'm taking it over.
The Gold is inspired by the biggest gold bullion heist in history.
That's 3 ton of pure gold.
It's nostalgic of a certain time. It's an incredible story that not a lot of people know.
You can watch The Gold on the BBC iPlayer right now after today's episode, of course. Anyway, one more question for you, Freer. What do you think that streaming services will be like in the oncoming future?
Well, we're entering uncharted territory here, and I don't think anyone can actually predict the future. However, if I was to give it a go, I would say keep a close eye on how many streaming services will start to pop up over the next few years. And that's not just for films and shows either. Streaming services are becoming multimedia, and it's important for us to keep an eye on that, as well as how inflated the industry will become. Thanks for having me on, Lewis.
Thank you, Randy. I'll remember to keep an eye out for that. Welcome back to the Platform Plumbers, everyone. Now we are joined with the new BBC iPlayer director, Anil Korea, director of The Gold.
Hi listeners, thanks for having me.
Anyway, my first question for you, how do you find directing films and TV shows that are going to streaming services rather than in the cinema?
Well, first off, it's a lot more flexible. I feel like I've been given a lot more room by my producers, which means I'm a lot freer to have fun with my directing.
@Mr. Heath says on Twitter, I love the number of options that directors get on streaming services. It allows for a much wider variety of content.
I totally agree. Being a newer platform means me and any of my crew are allowed to be much more experimental, meaning that viewers do get that large variety of content. And I do think that includes The Gold, and I do hope you enjoy it.
I have one more question for you, Anil. Would you agree that streaming services give up-and-coming creators more opportunities?
Absolutely, and even Randy Freer said this earlier about music, but you can 100% apply it to films too. If you're an aspiring director or in another role in the industry, applying to these places like the BBC or Netflix is sure worth a shot.
Well, thanks for coming on, Anil, and remember to catch The Gold on the BBC iPlayer right now.
Thank you.
We'll be right back after this break.